Welcome into Hockey Sense, everybody. Good to have you with us as always. It's our Friday tradition, but we are broadcasting on a Thursday today. Schedule came out, Blues versus the Winnipeg Jets, starting up on Saturday. Can't wait for the series to get going. Winnipeg had the advantage during the regular season, but they were close games for the most part. And including the last game in Winnipeg where the Blues didn't play great, and Winnipeg ended the Blues' 12-game winning streak. But it was still pretty much a one-goal game. I know David Lowry, I think it was Lowry, right, who scored the Adam Lowry. I want to call him Dave Lowry. Dave Lowry's been a guest on the Kevin Strickland podcast. His son Adam got the empty netter to give the Winnipeg Jets a 2-goal lead and seal the deal for Winnipeg. But won't be easy. They've got some injuries, too, when you look at what they're dealing with over there in Winnipeg. Ehlers being hurt, that won't help them. He's obviously such a dynamic player. Kevin Sawyer is going to join us here shortly. He's been the longtime color commentator with the Winnipeg Jets. We'll talk with him. Played in the NHL. Played for the Blues for a little bit too, I believe. Double check that. Spent the time at the rink today. I mean, a little bit of concern, I would say, without Robert Thomas skating today. I think the plan is for him to skate tomorrow, so that's the positive news. You hope that he looks good and you hope that he's available. I mean, the last thing that you need is for the Blues to go into a playoff series without Robert Thomas, their best player, 100%. But when you're banged up at this stage of the season and the playoffs begin on Saturday, I think there's a chance he's not going to be 100% when the playoffs begin, which is not a great sign for the Blues, who already don't have Dylan Holloway. The one advantage that Winnipeg has over St. Louis, I think, is their depth offensively. They probably have the best third line in the NHL, centered by Adam Lowry. Their third line of Lowry with Appleton on the right and Niederreiter now on the left side. They've got some other injuries there, too, which has put Niederreiter there. That's still probably the best third line in the NHL, certainly up there. They're really, really good. Gustafsson, Morgan Barron, and then Jarrett Anderson Dolan. That solidifies their bottom six. Their top line, Iafallo, who just signed a contract extension with Winnipeg, Scheifele in the middle, Connor on the left side. Been a great player for a long time. Love Kyle Connor. And then Ferretti on the right side, Nemestikov centering the second line, Niederreiter on the left side. Actually, I messed that up. Their third line is Tanev, Lowry, and Appleton. I was going to say it didn't sound right. So Tanev, who they got at the trade deadline. Winnipeg picked up Tanev and Luke Schenn at the trade deadline. I don't know if that was the play. Certainly gave them some toughness and some grit. A little bit of physicality when you look at how Schenn plays, and, you know, Tanev is a warrior. But I think most people around Winnipeg were calling for a second-line center, maybe to play ahead of Nemestikov, and they didn't find that. And we'll see how that impacts Winnipeg come playoff time. Their defensive pair of Morrissey, DeMello, Sam Burke, he's got some size. He plays on the left side on their second pair with Neil Pionk, who just signed a contract extension as well. They're signing all their guys right now in Winnipeg. Gets a 6-year deal. I think it's $7 million per. So big shout out to Neil Pionk, the Minnesota kid. Luke Schenn, Stanley on the left side. That rounds out their third pair. So they've got some size on the third pairing on their back end. But for the most part, when you look at Morrissey, when you look at DeMello, when you look at Pionk, these are puck movers. They aren't very big, great skaters, great mobility, but they move the puck extremely well. Very efficient from that standpoint, and we all know what they bring to the table in terms of goaltending. But they're so good defensively that I think that certainly makes Hellebuck as good as he is. And it's nothing against Hellebuck, who's going to win another Vezina Trophy most likely this season, and is widely considered the best goaltender in the world, although Binnington has had his number, not only in the playoffs, but obviously in the Four Nations as well. But Comrie, their backup goaltender, has got a save percentage of like .914. So when your backup's at .914, I mean, if he was at like 89% or 87 or 88%, you'd be like, wow, Hellebuck's unbelievable because his save percentage. is what it is. And because their backup, look at the backup. He's at 88%. This is how good Hellebuck is. But when your backup's at 914, I don't know about all that. I just don't know. You know, that's telling me that their overall team game and their defense is really good. When you look at the Blues lines today in practice, you know, certainly a lot of question marks now without Thomas. It's kind of tough to really truly look at the lines today and say this is what they're going to be come game 1 in Winnipeg. But it probably is. They had Texier playing in Thomas's spot with Buchnevich and Neighbors. So Neighbors is going to start the series playing on the left side with Thomas and Buchnevich. I fully expect Thomas to play. That's where we're at. Snuggerud, he'll take Holloway's spot on the second line right now with Shen and Kyrou. So that won't change from the last few games. Joseph, Sundqvist, Bolduc, Toropchenko, Faksa, Walker. And then Fowler, Parayko, that stays the same. Broberg, Falk, Suter, Leddy. So that's where we're at in terms of the pairings defensively and the line combinations for the Blues. Was talking with a few players today. Keys for the Blues coming into this series. Talking with a veteran guy like Radek Faksa, talking with Shen, talking with Kyrou, talked to Binnington for a little bit today as well. But the play in around the net, you know, they call them the dirty areas for a reason, both offensively and defensively. Who's going to own the net front in the offensive end and in the defensive end? The Blues gave up some goals late in the season, specifically to Edmonton. If you remember the Edmonton Oilers game, the game the Blues lost in Edmonton, just giving up some goals around the front of the net, right around the blue paint. You want to make sure you're defending that area at the highest level come playoff time. And that's where you're going to have to score some greasy goals. So I think around the net, the Blues are going to have to be strong. Turnovers, puck management, you're going to want to make, you know, smart, good puck decisions. You can't turn pucks over and allow a team like Winnipeg to counter and go down the other way. Special teams, man, I can't reiterate how important this is going to be. You look at Winnipeg's power play. I think they're first in the league in power play. They're right there among the league leaders, top 5 for sure in goals per game. I think they lead the league in goals against per game. I mean, it tells you all you need to know about the President's Trophy winner. But Iafallo, good player. Scheifele, good player, had a great season. Connor, and then Perfetti and Morrissey. That's the number 1 power play unit for Winnipeg. And, you know, if you get to the second power play unit, then you get into the depth of their lineup with guys like Niederreiter and Nemestikov and Appleton. And, you know, Pionk does a good job back there. Barron does a decent job. But it's the number 1 unit. You want to take away that one-time option for a guy like Connor who can really pound the puck and score from that flank area on the ice. Scheifele, really, really good. Can score in so many different ways. Perfetti's creative. Morrissey, quarterback's a blue line as well as anybody in the league. It's a good team. Really good team. You got the Shen brothers facing each other. This is going to be fun. Probably not for them. I was talking to Braden Shen about that this morning. He said that they will not talk to each other. They've made a decision, both he and Luke, that they're not going to talk to each other come playoff time. They just won't. So come game 1 on Saturday, there will not be any communication between Luke and Braden Shen. Their wives talk. They've got family group chats. You can't control all of it, but, you know, they talk every single day during the course of the season, but they're not going to talk during the playoffs. That will not happen. It's amazing that the Blues are in this spot. When you consider where they were at, nobody believed that they could make the playoffs. And I'm talking nobody. I mean, a lot of the media didn't believe. I would think that there were some people probably around the team that thought, this is going to be difficult to do. If you were to give certain people a lie detector test, and I'm not blaming them. I mean, you got to be honest. Like, did I think the Blues were going to make the playoffs coming out of the Four Nations? No. And I guarantee you a number of you watching and listening right now, no, you didn't think the Blues were going to make the playoffs coming out of the Four Nations. So why would the coaches, why would management truly believe this team was going to make the playoffs? And that's why they were looking to make the changes at the trade deadline that they were looking to do, because they didn't think they could make the playoffs. But then some things started to happen. And, specifically the game, and the Blues ended up losing the game in a shootout, I believe. Maybe it was overtime. Byfield may have gotten the overtime winner in L.A. when Parayko got hurt. And the Blues just ran out of gas in the third period, but they were blocking shots. I mean, just really laid it all on the line to get that point in the game. And it proved to be a really important point in L.A. Talking to Shen this morning, he felt like that was a turning point for this hockey team. That specific game. The victory in Washington. Huge win. That was Braden Shen's 1,000th game. That was such an important victory. You don't think about it at the time, but I don't think anybody expected the Blues to go into Washington. Nobody was beating Washington at that time. So, I mean, listen, this fourth line that the Blues have right now, people are trying to make the comparisons, and I get it, to the fourth line the Blues had in 2019. Not nearly as offensive as, Barbashev and Sundqvist were that season, along with Alexander Steen. They were all scoring 14, 15 goals during the regular season, scored some big goals in the playoffs. They were just absolutely destroying people physically. Sundqvist got suspended for a game. Barbashev got suspended for a game. The Blues lost both those games without each of those players when they were suspended for a game. They were so important to the Blues' success. They were the tone setters. They started periods, all that type of stuff. The cycle down low, the physicality, the ability and the willingness to forecheck all the way to the goal line. You hear Jim Montgomery say that all the time, playing goal line to goal line. That's something that line specifically does really, really well. So they still have that identity with their fourth line. It's a little bit of a different fourth line than what we saw in 2019, but it's still a really good one. We're going to talk with Kevin Sawyer coming up. Played a handful of games with the Blues. I want to say his rookie season. So, I'm not going to act like he played 100 games with the Blues. Only played 110 games over the course of his career. Undrafted. But does a great job broadcasting the games. I don't think he's calling the games, though, here in the playoffs. I think all the games go to Sportsnet. He's a TSN guy. Spent some time coaching in Spokane in the WHL. Looking forward to that. First Community brings us Hockey Sense each and every week. Hope you tell all your friends to subscribe and listen to us each and every week here on Hockey Sense. Wouldn't be here without First Community. All our great friends over there. Get that Smart Choice home loan. I've been telling you about it. Get that 30-year fixed rate. You don't have to think about your rate adjusting in a few years. All you need is a 10% down payment. No PMI. That's private mortgage insurance. You don't have to pay that. It's a huge deal. No fees for the application processing. No fees for the underwriting. Now, these are all fees that all these banks throw in there. You don't even know about them. So fixed rates, they're low. They're hard to find. And this loan is available now to qualified borrowers. So this excludes First Community mortgages. So make the smart choice. Apply online, firstcommunity.com. 6.75%. You heard that right, 6.75%. All right, Four Hands Brewing Company. Get all your favorite Four Hands Brewing Company products, including that mango lemonade hard seltzer. You can find that anywhere you get your Four Hands Brewing Company products. Check out the tasting room in downtown St. Louis, Kirkwood, Chesterfield. Stop on into a Four Hands Brewing Company location today. Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop. The Wallace family just flat out getting it done. Download that app today. These deals are so good they call them steals. That's how good they are. Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop, baby. We love everything about Dirt Cheap. Don't sleep on the paper goods and all the party goods. If you're having people over for Easter, you got graduation parties around the corner, all that type of stuff. Hey, listen, take advantage of it with Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop. Many of the locations have drive-thrus. You don't even have to get out of your car. They've got curbside pickup. They've got a lot of different options for you when you do your shopping over there with Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop. Cheap, cheap. Love Dirt Cheap. These guys are unbelievable. Blue Note Roofing. No bigger fan right now than David Novak with Blue Note Roofing. 314-920-5713. David Novak, Blue Note Roofing, call him today, man. Especially if you had any damage from the recent storms that we've had. Roofing, siding, gutter, soffit fascia. You saw him on the show last week. He'll come out and see you, give you that free estimate, and he'll do it now and get to work for you. Uses all the big-time insurance companies as well. Serves Illinois, Missouri, all over. Blue Note Roofing with David Novak. Again, 314-920-5713. Lordo's Diamonds. Get that special someone in your life, something special from Lordo's Diamonds. Lordo'sDiamonds.com. Right there in the heart of Ladue, right next to Truffles. Can't miss it. 314-432-8008. That's the phone number. Stop on in. Say hi to Mike and Jimmy. They are the absolute best. Lordo's Diamonds, baby. All right, let's step aside. We'll come back with Kevin Sawyer. We'll talk some Winnipeg Jets. Who are the Blues facing in the first round? Everything you need to know about Winnipeg. You'll find out next. Don't go anywhere. All right, Kevin Sawyer started his career with the Blues. He is a true Blue. But now he's been working in television. How many years have you been doing the TV, Kevin?
Yeah, this is year 8 with the Winnipeg Jets, and I was 8 years prior to that with the WHL. So it's been a while. That went by quick, but yeah, a lot longer than I played.
How'd you get into the TV side?
I played for the Spokane Chiefs, and then I was an assistant coach there. I wanted to be a coach and try to make it to the NHL level. Ended up, life just got too complicated, so I stepped away from coaching, and then that same team asked if I wanted to broadcast. So it was like $100. It was the worst production you've ever seen in your life, $100 a game. I did that for 4 years, and then it started to grow from there. So just serendipitous.
I love it. Love it. The playoffs are going to be fun. Winnipeg has been so good all season long. They've really been the best team really since day one. Got off to such a great start, and I know you're not going to be able to sustain that over the course of the season, but they end up winning the division and obviously the President's Trophy as well. Was this the expectation for this team entering the year?
Not at all. No way. Nobody around Winnipeg expected them to be the top team in the league. I don't think anybody expected for them to be the top team in the Central Division. You look back to September, that was supposed to be Colorado, Nashville, Dallas, and then maybe rounding it out Winnipeg. If you're being realistic and fair about that. I remember saying at the beginning of the year when they were in the middle of their run, they won 14 of the first 15 games. Their power play was around 40%. And I was like, well, this is not sustainable. And it almost was. I mean, they finished first in the league with the power play of right around 30%. They continued to win. Nobody saw it coming. Mm-hmm. I would say the reason that they were able to sustain what they did is they were as good of a team at resetting after every period and after every game, whether it went well or didn't go well. They didn't get too high, didn't get too low, cliche, and they just reset and started their day again every day.
And who drives the bus for this team? I mean, Connor obviously is the goal scorer and puts up a lot of points. Scheifele obviously puts up a lot of points. Who's the driver for this team?
I love that question, and here's why. If you asked me that question 3 years ago, the answer would have been Blake Wheeler. Mm-hmm. And Blake Wheeler at that time was the captain of the team. Blake Wheeler had a lot to do with the culture that existed then. Blake was a hell of a player, an unbelievably hard worker. But I don't think he was the best guy to be the voice in the room. Kind of like a JT Miller, too intense and maybe not forgiving enough, maybe not inclusive enough. And that's not to knock the man. It's just the personality in the man. Mm-hmm. So take away Blake Wheeler. Now Adam Lowry has the C. And the reason I'm telling you this story is because Adam has allowed everybody else around him to rise up, to have a voice, to have a piece of that room. I can't answer your question because there is no driver. There's a core leadership group. There's no doubt about that, but there's no one reason they win. There's no one voice in the room. It really is a committee. That's the honest to God's answer.
Yeah, and it's a good answer too. And I'm a huge fan of Adam Lowry, and he maybe centers the best third line in the National Hockey League right now. You got Tanev back, who obviously, we know what he brings to the table. Did you feel like, the addition of Tanev and Shen, there was so much talk that maybe you guys were going to looking for a center at the trade deadline. That didn't happen. You add some physicality, some grit to the table. How have those two players specifically impacted the roster since the trade deadline?
Yeah, well, going back to the deadline, it felt like a letdown. It did. It felt like Kevin Cheveldayoff wasn't able to achieve what he wanted to achieve more than anything else. And that was a second line center. There's no secrets around that. That was their goal. Easier said than done, harder in Winnipeg than maybe most other places with, no move clauses and et cetera.
Sure.
So overall, it felt like a little bit of a letdown as far as what they were hoping to do. But it didn't feel like a letdown at all when you looked at the addition of Schenn and Tanev, because those guys filled a huge need. And I think it maybe almost surpassed what anybody could have hoped as far as how it would have impacted this team. Nothing changed. It just was an addition. So Tanev had built-in chemistry with this team. I can tell you, I was standing there when he walked into the room in New Jersey on trade deadline day, and he was running. He was so excited. Hair straight back, couldn't be happier to be a part of things. So he just brought more energy to a room that was already healthy. The shot blocks, finish checks, tenacity, depth. I think everybody knew what they were getting, and they got Brandon Tanev from the first version, but even another level of him. And then the Schenn was the biggest addition, and that maybe the most impactful addition. And here's why. It's because there was no other player in the locker room like him, where he's got a bit of a big brother syndrome to him. Adam Lowry was tasked with standing up for teammates and himself and being the big kind of intimidating force. When I played, that was one thing. If you have one guy on the other team you have to worry about, that's one thing. But when you have two, that changes everything. Now they have two big men that are not easy to play against, that are hard to play against. So there's that part. The way that Schenn finishes checks, I mean, it's intimidating. Mm-hmm. In the locker room, this guy orchestrates dinners. He's got a calm presence to his voice. He doesn't say a ton, but when he does, I hear from everybody that everybody listens, their ears perk up. He's a big man in stature, automatically demands respect. Yeah. He's the oldest and the most experienced. So it just adds a little bit more gristle, a little bit more callous to the room. And you know as well as anybody how much you need that if you want to do a deep dive in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's got presence, there's no doubt. And it's funny because Braden's the guy that organizes the dinners on this side, so you got the, Schenn versus Schenn. It's going to be a great storyline heading into this playoff series. I want to go back to the power play. How does the power play run? We all know Connor obviously is that one-time threat. He's a great shooter, scores a lot of goals. Scheifele can score from different areas. How does Morrissey impact the power play just from a defensive quarterback standpoint?
Okay, this was an area that needed to improve big time from last year. They were bottom third in the power play last year. That was not acceptable for the amount of skill they have. This year, the best. Davis Payne comes in his first year, and he's in charge of that power play. His biggest task, and I mean, to try to simplify something that's complicated, was to make everybody on the ice a threat, to make everybody dangerous, and to have interchangeable parts. Without going too deep into that, I'm going to throw something at you here. Kyle Connor, as dangerous as he is, hadn't scored a power play goal in his last 46 games regular season. So, and the power play is the best in the league. So that shows you that Morrissey knows when to shoot. He knows when to draw people into him so that he can become a good passer. Nikolai Ehlers had a ton to do with their success with his quickness in the bumper position. Long story short, that power play was good because they had 5 men on the ice with high skill, high IQ. And if a penalty kill shut down one thing, they had enough vision, creativity, and IQ to be able to expose other areas. And it was coached, it was structured, but I think the brilliance behind Davis Payne's idea was give them structure, give them ideas, but let them be creative and let them be who they want to be. And it was, I think that's why it was so hard to shut down, is because sometimes the Jets didn't even know what they were going to do because they were working off of structure, but letting their thoughts guide them. It's interesting.
It is interesting. I've known Davis Payne for a long time. I remember talking to him last summer, trying to figure out where he was going to go, and he had his hands in a number of different fires and was hoping something would come together. And obviously, it's been a good fit for him there. That's a crazy stat, by the way, on Kyle Connor. You would never think that. You mentioned Ehlers. Any update there? I mean, he collided with the referee. It's a kind of a strange injury.
Yep.
Where's he at? I mean, should we expect to see him at some point?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know for sure, but from the update is week to week. And so, I mean, if they see him in the first round, I think that everybody around Winnipeg would be pleased and pleasant. I think there's a possibility. From everything I'm hearing, though, it might be an outside possibility. Wow. So it's week to week. That's all the inside intel that we have in Winnipeg. But I can tell you, watching that game in Chicago, where, they had the opportunity to clinch the Central and the Western Conference, but it was so sloppy. And they came off a big win against Dallas, and now that next game's a bit of an exhale. It was such a mess. And I remember thinking, and I almost feel responsible, because I remember thinking to myself, this is the type of game where someone usually gets hurt. The structure had gone, the focus maybe a little less. And sure enough, it was a weird collision. Ehlers was waiting at the offensive blue line, clipped the linesman, went down, a lower body injury. Not good, because they're certainly not going to see him to start the series. And I doubt they will see him to end it. But that's yet to be determined.
Yeah, I don't know what the injury. I mean, it looked like a foot. Almost. Yeah, I don't know what.
Yeah, it looked like exactly. A foot, ankle, lower body injury. I mean, maybe groin. I'm guessing. I really don't know, but it's lower body for sure. And oh boy, week to week, that's not good.
Holloway's week to week too. You'd rather hear day to day. Day to day means that they are, likely
outside
to return.
Chance. Yeah,
at some point here in the very near future. Week to week, it's just there's an extended period of time before you see him again.
What a loss that is for the Blues and Holloway. I mean, who would have thought that he would have meant so much to a team at the beginning of the year as he does here at the end? That's a big loss.
Okay, so listen, the outsiders are going to say, well, Winnipeg hasn't been able to really crack through in the playoffs, and they've had good teams. There's a lot of pressure. Canadian team. Hellebuck obviously is widely considered the best goaltender in the world, but he hasn't necessarily lived up to expectations come playoff time. Does this year feel different? Do you think that outside noise is penetrating into the dressing room? Like, how do you look at that from a Winnipeg point of view entering the series?
I look at it like I think the Winnipeg Jets are looking at it. There's pressure. They were, and I don't say this to be disrespectful, but they were embarrassed last year against the Colorado Avalanche. They give up 27 goals in 5 games. It wasn't even close to what they should have looked like. Hellebuck wasn't even close to the level that he needed to play at. The team was a dog's breakfast is what it was. They know it. And the reason that I think this team is ready to win is because there were different games, like every team has throughout the course of the year, that are big pressure moments, big games where everybody's watching. You're going to learn something about your club. I'll give you some examples. The first game against Colorado of the season, everybody was watching. Jets win that 1-0. Hellebuck was a stud. Still a regular season game early in the year. You go ahead to a matchup that was a rare back-to-back home in Florida against the Panthers, champions from last year, and they beat up on the Jets physically on the scoreboard. It was a 5-0 loss. They had nothing going on. 2 days later, back in Winnipeg, they play the Panthers. Scheifele scores a hat trick, and they embarrassed. Maybe not embarrassed, but they completely ran over the Panthers. So there was about 10 or 12 games throughout the course of this year where there was direct pressure. Against the Capitals, they beat them twice. Against Dallas, they shut them down at their own game. And I've talked to a lot of different players with the Winnipeg Jets about expectation and pressure. And what I've heard this year and seen this year versus what I've heard and seen in years past. In years past, they want to say, no pressure. We only put pressure on ourselves. That's the only pressure. That's not true. If you're going to win a Stanley, ask Rory McIlroy if pressure is real. Pressure comes when you get to somewhere where everybody wants to be. There's less space, more heat. That's pressure. This team seems to be able to, and seems to not only run from it, but welcome it and then perform at their very best. Not one pressure game this year that in my opinion, did they play, they didn't lose one of them. And not only that, but they played to their identity and won in dramatic fashion and command of those games. So I think the difference this year is pressure. There's going to be a ton of pressure on this first round, and Connor Hellebuck, everybody will be watching. Can they do it? Is it going to be a flop like last year? I think they're ready to deal with that pressure.
Do you think it's by design that they're announcing all these contract extensions right now? I mean, Iafallo gets one, Pionk gets one. I mean, it's just you don't typically hear that.
Yeah,
right on the brink of a playoff series.
Yeah, I don't think it's like gamesmanship. I don't. I think it's probably we want to get our business done and take that away from our players. I think that the players are looking at this going, okay, they've got a chance to win a Stanley Cup this year, next year, and years to come. They have Hellebuck for another 6 years with Scheifele after this year. Connor's up at the end of next year, but you've solidified a lot of your core. You've solidified that, and I think Kevin Cheveldayoff wisely as to taking advantage of the timing is right. The regular season's over. Let's reward these players. Let's get this done so that it's not a distraction for our players or our fan base going into this dive. So I like it because it can be a bit of a distraction. You got a couple days between game one. And so these guys can get all their taps on their backs and they can have their dinner, take the boys out for a dinner with their new contract, and then know that that's not waiting for them at the end of this. They can exhale and calm down. I think it breeds a ton of confidence for the group knowing, hey, these guys want to be here. And the old narrative was nobody wants to play in Winnipeg. Nobody wants to be there unless they have to be there. I don't know that that's true anymore. Ask Hellebuck, ask Scheifele, now Nemesnikov, Iafallo, Pionk, and I think there'll be more to come.
Yeah, I always liked Iafallo. And he was good in LA too. You play with Kopitar, scored goals with good players, and just never really, I don't know. Just didn't seem to really get that opportunity, or maybe he did and didn't take advantage of it. I don't know. But he's just always been a good player, and it's good to see him now get a fit right now, playing on the top line. Velarde, though, he's hurt also. This guy's a good player. He's got to be an important piece to Winnipeg. What about him? Will we see him back?
So everything I'm hearing now is he's going to start skating. And his injury was significant. So
lower body, upper body. What was his?
I think that his was an upper body. They've labeled it upper body. It was such a mystery because in that same game he got hit in the ear with a puck, and so everybody thought it was a concussion. Turned out he came back, played a couple more shifts, and got slew-footed and fell on his backside. So I don't think it was concussion. I really don't. Mm-hmm. He's skating. He's getting closer. That line will be at their very best when Gabriel Velarde is on it. Throughout the regular season, when he was with Scheifele and Connor, they scored more than any other trio combined, not just line, but any other trio. He's so good on the wall, his hands in tight, net front, power play, etc. But the positive, here's the positive, is that line with Iafallo, it changes their dynamic, where Connor used to be the first guy on the puck. Kyle Connor was, because he had the most speed on that line. And so that put him on the wall first. That put him on the wall to start. They had to cycle and build from there out. Now it's Iafallo that's going to be on the puck first most of the time. That's where he's best, on the wall. And now that frees up Scheifele and Connor to kind of find some soft space and make plays. Yeah. So it's a pretty nice luxury to have a fourth line guy come up and that line doesn't miss a beat. It's been big.
So who's moved up? I mean, so you mentioned Iafallo, but have these injuries now impacted Niederreiter? Does he have a bigger role now too, or no?
Yeah, with Ehlers out, now Niederreiter is going to slide up and play on that second line with Nemesnikov and Perfetti. Okay. He's done it. He's done that before. He adds another element. This is maybe one of the best or biggest positives for Velarde's injury. When Velarde got hurt, I'll just back up. The Winnipeg Jets are a team that I've never seen before in the sense that they never change their lines unless they have to. The third line with Lowry, Appleton, and Niederreiter was like that always. The top line never changed. So playoffs injuries happen, and now you change in the heat of the battle, and sometimes that can really rattle a team. Velarde got hurt, it changed all four lines. And so they found out a lot of new things. Niederreiter went up to play with Nemesnikov, so they've had reps. So it's not going to rattle them as much as far as confidence goes. Niederreiter will play on that line with Nemesnikov, Perfetti. It's a smaller line. That gives them net front presence. They play well with him. Ehlers, that's a huge loss. But now you got Tanev, who used to play with Lowry 5 years ago before he left, and they were amazing together. He'll slide up and play with Lowry and Appleton. And Morgan Barron, who was a winger, played center for the first time about 3 weeks ago in that fourth line. He's scoring like crazy. Wow. So they seem to have an identity on all four lines, regardless of kind of who plays where. That goes to the systems, and Scott Arniel, by the way, the head coach. Yeah. They've got systems and total buy-in where you can have interchanging parts and it doesn't seem to make them spot.
Yeah. Well, so much focus on Jim Montgomery here in St. Louis, but obviously Scott Arniel, well, whatever buttons he's pressed, they've worked big time from a Winnipeg standpoint. Last thing for you, what's the focus on St. Louis, you think, from Winnipeg? What do they want to accomplish in terms of, if they're going to win this series, what are they going to have to do against St. Louis?
Yeah, I think there is a ton of respect for the St. Louis Blues coming out of Winnipeg, and here's why. That last matchup between these two teams, it was a 3-1 win with an empty netter, if I remember that right.
Yeah.
Both teams played unbelievably well. Winnipeg wins the game, but they had to have all four lines, every single player on that in the lineup, no different than St. Louis, every shift be patient, play in your structure, and it almost came down to which team was going to blink first. Neither team really blinked. I don't think St. Louis lost because they were sloppy. It was just Winnipeg has a lot of talent. They've got a winning pedigree. They stayed patient. And so did St. Louis. I think the Winnipeg Jets, this matchup, is the perfect matchup for them because it's going to force them. They will not be able to cheat. They will not be able to evacuate their structure. I think St. Louis could make them pay for that. I think there's a lot of respect because St. Louis and Jim Montgomery's group, as you know, they've got buy-in and they have a lot of belief in a system. And I think that's the difference between a winning team and a losing team is a team that has a system that they stick to whether things go well or don't. You don't evacuate or panic or try to make up for a bad shift in the next shift.
Yeah.
That should make for a very hard-fought battle, in my opinion.
All right, and then what about the goaltending? Because some people would suggest, hey, listen, Binnington, he's got Hellebuck's number. He did it in 19. He did it in the Four Nations. How big is this for Hellebuck? Yeah,
I agree with that. And I think both goaltenders, I think they're going to use that as fuel. Neither will admit it. They never do because it's just bulletin board material. But I think that Hellebuck's looking at this going, like, both men have a deep desire to win and a deep sense of pride. And Hellebuck's looking at this, in my opinion, saying, he got the better of me at the Four Nations. He got the better of me back in 2019. I got something to prove. There's a lot to prove for the Winnipeg Jets. And I think that goaltender matchup is only going to bring the best out in both of them. This is going to be a rock star first round. I really believe that if the St. Louis Blues can get back to where they were in that 12-game streak, this is going to be a doozy.
Yeah, I agree with you. Any prediction?
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, I'm going to say this, and not because I work for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
I work for TSN, so I'm actually not biased. It's hard to bet against the Winnipeg Jets,
Sure.
Not because they won the President's Trophy, but man, 56 wins, 116 points, the best defensive team for 2 years running. Anybody beats this team, they'll have a lot to be proud of because they played unbelievable hockey and they stuck together as a group. That's why Winnipeg is the favorite going into this series. I mean, that's pretty hard to argue considering their track record.
They've got to be. Great stuff, Kevin. I appreciate it, man. I may circle back with you during the series at some point. Love having you on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I enjoyed talking hockey with you, man. Thanks for having me.
Enjoy the series, Kevin. We'll be in touch.
Thanks.
Take care. All right, so I enjoyed talking with Kevin. Great stuff there, man. And he's right. I mean, you can't argue that Winnipeg wouldn't be considered the favorite. I mean, they're the President's Trophy winner. And but the Blues obviously have been one of the best teams, if not the best team since the Four Nations. What a series. What a series. Could you imagine winning the President's Trophy, being the best team in the league, and you got to face this team, the hottest team in the league, in the first round? That's the reward for winning the President's Trophy. Again, Blue Note Roofing. Call David Novak today, 314-920-5713. Roofing, siding, gutters, soffit fascia. Jersey Generator. Get those custom jerseys made today. When Jamal gets here, you'll see the jersey behind. And during the Cam and Strick podcast, you see the jerseys that Mark up there in Montreal made for us on the for the Cam and Strick podcast jerseys. JerseyGenerator.com. If you have a men's league team, maybe you own a business, you just want one jersey custom made with your emblem, your logo on it, he can do that for you. They are so high quality, great jerseys. But even for a team, doesn't have to be a men's league team, could be a youth hockey team, youth hockey organization, whatever. Let Mark take care of you. All right, this is Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. Little Blues, best program going. Get your son or daughter introduced to the game of hockey in style with Little Blues. Do it today. Little Blues. Go to the Blues website. You can call up to First Community. They'll give you all the information. First Community, so invested in hockey. They bring you Little Blues. They bring you the Blues Hall of Fame. You see their signage all over the Enterprise Center during the games. So check out Little Blues. If you're curious about the schedule, the season or the playoff series starts Saturday, 5 o'clock drop of the puck. That's game one. Saturday at 5 o'clock. Game 2, Monday, 6:30. We don't have any late starts. How about that? Until you get to Thursday for Game 3. That's an 8:30 start. Of course, here in St. Louis, 8:30 start. Then Game 4 on Sunday is a noon start. Can't wait for the series to get going. Jamal Mayers is next. I'm Andy Strickland. Stay with us. Welcome back. You got to be, first off, I can't believe you weren't here for Saturday. I saw you on Thursday. This guy's wearing his Western Michigan gear. They're up 2-0. I'm like, it should be 5-0, but it's 2-0. And I was talking to you after the second period, already talking about Saturday, and then all of a sudden it got a little stressful.
It did.
Went to double overtime. What an amazing just experience and everything for this university and this hockey program.
Honestly, I thought they were a few years away. There's a new rink being built. There was a very generous anonymous donor that donated
$500 million.
Yes, 300 of which is going to be used to build a new rink downtown in Kalamazoo. And this donor, Pat Fershar, was a senior captain when I was a freshman. The donor, according to Fersh, took him around the country on his jet to look at different rinks and pick out what things he wanted. He wants it to be the best.
What would they have looked at? College rinks?
They looked at NHL rinks too, like Caesars in Detroit.
Ridiculous rink. Edmonton, maybe.
Yeah, I think they went to like all the new rinks, just to piece out like. So they're gonna have cold tub, hot tub, sauna, lounge, all of this stuff that you're thinking about, outdoor part of a rink.
Which you have to have nowadays.
All of this stuff. So I thought it was going to take that for this to happen. The fact that they're not paying any kids any NAL money and they made this happen this fast, I feel like you look at what Quinnipiac has done in the last 20 years, I think Western Michigan is on that trajectory.
Okay. Yeah, Quinnipiac won a couple years ago.
They
actually beat Jimmy Snuggerud's Minnesota team, which had Matthew Nyes and Brock Faber and
now
Logan Cooley, all these guys on that team.
But now they're relevant, right? They're like a legit powerhouse,
more
top 10.
And,
like that's just...
Still don't know where it is, but it's fine.
It's in Kalamazoo, bud.
I'm talking about Quinnipiac.
Oh, I don't know where that is either.
I'm talking about Quinnipiac. I know where Western Michigan is. And I was hoping Andy Murray was going to be here for the weekend. I actually talked to him a few times.
Me too.
But regardless, I'm happy, man. And Western Michigan, you feel a little bit of a connection, not only because you played there, but they've been here in St. Louis. I've seen them play live the last couple of years and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, congratulations to that whole program. And hopefully they can continue. They have like 13 NHL draft picks or something like that on that team.
Pretty cool.
A couple guys have signed already.
Yeah, they've left
some NHL games.
Captain left, Bump signed with Philly. It'll be interesting to see what happens with those guys.
Okay. Winnipeg, St. Louis, I want to dive right into that real quick.
Yep.
Robert Thomas didn't skate today. They're saying precautionary, but, he's got to practice tomorrow. And I think that's the plan, that he will be on the ice practicing. If you're not practicing right now, does that automatically suggest for a game on Saturday that you won't be 100%?
No. Now, if he doesn't practice tomorrow, tomorrow being Friday, that's not a good sign. That would tell me he's not playing.
Yeah. But there's no need to push it and have him skate 2 days in a row if it's a lingering little issue.
Yeah, I think that he's fine. One practice and he'll be set to go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he probably doesn't even need a practice, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, he'd be fine with morning skate.
Yeah, and warm up.
Yeah, it'd be good.
How hard did you go in warm up? Did you go pretty hard in warm up?
Depended. No, absolutely not.
No.
Yeah, there's a routine that you go through. There's elements of bursts, and it's interesting you asked that question because I had, coaching the kids, I had crew watch like a guy like Nylander in warm up. Now there's a lot of this just feeling the puck and
putting on a show and whatever,
dusting it off. But then there are elements of bursts. It's important to have those 5-6 bursts whenever you want to have them, because and everybody does it. If you watch McDavid in warm up, there's a lot of but then there's elements of bursts, tight turns, crossover, shot. Like there's actually elements of bursts because you want to get your mind feeling quick and thinking
that
quickly.
Muscle memory. Yeah, and Crosby to stick handle on the McDonald's logo and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
That's just his superstition and getting his hands feeling right. But I'm talking about physical skating bursts. I think it's important that
kids don't really have much time for that, though. You get your 3 to 5 minute for a warm up. You got to get you get in your lines, you pass the puck, and you shoot, and then all of a sudden it's game time. But I guess
there's opportunity. I built that into a few those that will listen that create that. I think it helps them get their mind ready to play fast.
Yeah, which is obviously important. Winnipeg's power play, I mean, they are so good. I just had Kevin Sawyer on, who's been doing their games for a long time, and really had a great conversation. I mean, they were at 40% for a good chunk of the season to start, and it's amazing that they still hovered around 30% for the whole year. They lead the league in goals against. Hellebuyck is so good, but at the end of the day, I'm dealing with this, and I've said this a couple times now, so people are probably like, why do you keep saying that? But when your backup goaltender's at .914 save percentage, you know, as good as Hellebuyck is, but your backup is .914. Like if he was at like 88%, I'd be like, wow, Hellebuyck truly is unbelievable. What is it about Hellebuyck? Like, is he that much of a difference maker, or is he a product of everything that's in front of him in addition to just being really good?
A little bit of both. I think that let's be careful. He's, to me, because of the reasons you mentioned in regard to how well they play defensively, this is not Dominic Hasek. Okay, this is not that. This is not that. This is a really good goaltender who's playing in front of a really good team that defends well. What's important to look at, and I don't have those numbers in front of me, is more the goal saved above expected, is more of a indicative number to tell you, is he stopping the pucks he should stop relative to difficulty.
And that number suggests that he does?
That number, I'm not sure where he lies. I'll have to look it up for you, but it's not, that would be more important number. My point is I think that there is a mental hurdle he has to get over. One, he was terrible last year against Colorado.
Yeah, wasn't good.
Two, he just got beat a few months ago by Bennington in
the Four Nations.
The Four Nations, an opportunity for him to really solidify himself. So I think that the start of this series is probably more important for the Blues than it is for any other team. The reason why I say that is I love starting on the road. Go to Winnipeg and steal one game. Now, if you steal game one in Canada, it's going to be great.
Oh, my God. So, especially with Hellebuyck, who there's question marks because of his inability to get it done in the playoffs.
Yes.
And, you know, you said Four Nations, but I mean, maybe it's a little bit a ways back, but, you know, 2019 wasn't that far off, when Bennington beat Hellebuyck there.
It's not. So I think there's a lot of, I don't like put too much stock in who you want to play. And I would not have liked have the matchup against Vegas. I don't think that would have been a good matchup for the Blues. I like this matchup. You could argue they have a tremendously talented offensive first line. Nemesnikov's not a second line center.
He's not, and that's what they needed to get at the trade deadline. Everyone was screaming for, Kevin Cheveldayoff to get a second line center. He did add Tanev and Shen.
Good additions.
People were like, I don't know if we need that, but they've been proven, just their experience, their how they play with the grit and the physicality and just what they bring to the table. Good veteran players who fit in with that room,
Yeah, but I think that we'll see. Time will tell. I think that if Thomas's line washes versus Scheifele, and maybe the thought was, well, we have the best third line in the NHL, which you could argue that Winnipeg does with who they have there.
Adam Lowry.
Like they legit are the best third line.
Yeah,
I can't think of
third
another
line now too.
Right. So maybe they're thinking that
Appleton's the other guy,
one of those two lines can be the second line. Maybe they're thinking that. But if Schenner's line can outplay Nemesnikov, I think that you have something. And so it's going to be interesting. It's not going to be easy, especially in Winnipeg. They'll have the whiteout going. It'll be unreal energy.
You got to figure out one of these years Winnipeg's going to break through too. I'm sure that's what they're saying. One of these years they're going to.
Yeah.
And they had an amazing regular season. They were the best team in the league the first 20 games of the year. They were incredible. And, you're not going to sustain that, but they were able to hang on and win the division, a very competitive division. So, but I'm with you, though. I thought that Vegas would be the more difficult first-round matchup, but I would rather play out of the Pacific bracket versus the Central bracket if you're able to get out of the first round.
Saying.
You know what I mean? And take your chances in the winner of LA versus Edmonton versus the winner of Colorado versus Dallas. But either way, you'd have to go through one of those teams if you want to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. So It is what it is. They don't have, Nikolai Ehlers. I mean, that's a huge loss for them. He's so dynamic. Velarde's a very good player. He's banged up as well. So, as much as it hurts for St. Louis not to have Holloway because he is so important to what the Blues do, Winnipeg's dealing with injuries too.
Yeah, they are. And key components, and Ehlers has been unbelievable. He's a tremendous player. I really, really like him as a player. Doesn't cheat the game. Legit, ridiculously fast. Plays hard, can score, plays in all situations. That's a big loss for them.
It doesn't sound like he's going to be available for the first round either. So,
and then
Blues
you're saying Velarde's banged up. He's the reason that
skating, but not ready to play.
Well, he's the reason their power play clicks for me. He's really good on the goal line and collects pucks, makes plays from the goal line. Like smart player.
I believe Kyle Connor and Kevin Sawyer said this. I didn't know if I heard it right. That Kyle Connor doesn't have a power play goal in like 46 consecutive games or something. I don't know if he was saying that last year. If he was
really?
About that. I gotta look into this.
I mean, he's unbelievable to skate like he skates and shoot one timers.
Oh
like you don't usually get one or the other.
Threat. No,
you know what I mean? Like to be able to shoot the way he shoots and skate that way.
Yeah.
You might want to play him in the final.
What?
4 Nations.
Oh my God, Morrissey?
Yeah. No.
Or
no.
Oh, Connor.
Yeah,
he didn't play for Team USA. He didn't even dress. And they had guys dressing who couldn't play because of injury.
Come on. Kreider played over him?
I know. And he scores 40 every year.
Kreider played over him. Oh, that's a mistake.
Major mistake.
I digress.
All right, Morrissey, DeMello, Sandberg, Pionk. That's their top 4D.
Yeah, so what you're seeing from they really like the maturation and the development of Sandberg. They think he's taken a massive step forward.
Bigger than the other three, right?
Yeah. He's massive. Doesn't play overly physical, but he defends well. One guy that's probably you don't know much about that's gonna surprise Blues fans is Pionk. He's not the flashy kind of defenseman that you're typically used to seeing, but he's very effective, very smart, good stick defending wise. Not a big guy. Will make good plays, and they defend with their skating ability.
He quarterbacks the second unit on the power play. He got paid today, by the way. I don't know if you saw
really?
that. He got a 6-year deal, $7 million a year.
Good timing.
I mean, Winnipeg, they're signing guys. I mean, they just signed Iafallo, too. I always liked Iafallo in L.A. Like, he played with Kopitar. Like, he scored goals with those guys. And for whatever reason, he was part of that, Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. And now he's found his way onto the top line right now. And, they've had to shuffle some stuff around, but he just got paid by Winnipeg, too, so they know what they have. And they're getting guys to re-sign there, which is not always easy because they got Scheifele and Hellebuck to re-sign there last
winning
offseason.
helps. Yeah. Winning helps, right? So, I'll tell you, winning cures all. So, that's the reason why they're signing there.
How do you see this series playing out? Do you see St. Louis... You had St. Louis during the 12-game winning streak, changed everyone's perception of who they are. They were playing such great hockey. Losing the 3 games before the end of the year and then, getting it together for that last game against Utah. Where are they, in your opinion, right now?
Well, they have a formula that allows them to have success. Was I concerned that they lost those 3 games in a row? Not really. You expect a little bit of an exhale of sorts. Even though they technically needed to get it back together because of, the numbers said they had to win that hockey game. It's a great sign that they played the way they played and that they started the way they started and that the structure was back to what they have, had success doing. So now they have it back where we can say, okay, that wasn't just a lucky run. This is really who we are when we play the right way. And they gotta do that. They have no margin for error against the Jets. They're going to have to play that game.
I was talking to Braden Shen for a while today, and I hear Jim Montgomery say this all the time. This is when, you look at the fourth line, in a playoff series, especially when they're a big part of the team. And for the Blues right now, with Toropchenko and Walker and Foxa, you go back to 2019, how important that fourth line was with Steen centering, Sundqvist and Barbashev. But they talk about playing goal line to goal line. Explain what that means.
Well, everyone uses different speak, coach speak, whatever analogy you want to use. But what they're essentially just saying is that there's 3 zones, and we got to play the right way in all 3 zones. So defending wise, they want to close quickly. They want to get out of the zone quickly. They want to have good support, be able to communicate to get out of the zone quickly. They want to make sure that they're hard along the boards in those instances. Through the neutral zone, they want to play fast. They want to push the pace. Slash support, meaning sprint across the ice. Not much handling of the puck, but let's get the puck in on the forecheck and get in there and support and play their game. I think the Blues do a great job of allowing their D to be active in the offensive zone. I think when you're seeing them play well, there's a lot of interchanging and motion and moving, and I think that's all the good teams do that. So
and the forecheck, right? I mean, forecheck.
Well, forecheck is something that has come on with Monty, in my opinion. It really wasn't a strong suit. I think now it's become something that
it's one of the adjustments he made coming out of the Four Nations.
It is
forecheck and PK.
Okay, because I think like what I'm seeing now is like sometimes when you like getting, and I think the Blues were in the top 10. I'm not sure what number, 8 or 9 in rush chances last year. The problem with that is that it's not sustainable in the playoffs, and it's not. There's no fallback.
It's not hard hockey.
It's not hard hockey. So my fallback is if there's no fallback, then you have no other way to create. So establishing the forecheck is winning hockey in the playoffs. So it takes a certain amount of patience, meaning like sometimes you're just holding on to it. Sometimes it's low to high, shot to the net, rebound, retrieval. It takes work. It takes maybe 40 seconds to get even another chance. But if you're willing to play that way, then it's hard to play against teams that play that way. So that's what they mean when they're talking about playing in all 3 zones. And I think that you're seeing a team that's committed, all 4 lines committed to playing in the offensive zone and having some patience in their game.
It's can you say that the Blues, it's already a win for them this season? How the season's gone, getting back to the playoffs? Or do you feel like, okay, well, now that you're in and the way you played down the stretch, it's possible to go in there and make some noise?
It's a great question. I think the easy answer to me is that if they lose in 4 or 5, it's not a success. If they lose to the President's Trophy champions in 6 or 7, it is absolutely a successful season. And I think that the reason why because it's important that they take a step, right?
Yeah.
I think the biggest step that was taken from this team is however Monty did it he wouldn't take the credits, with his coaching staff as well. The ability to get some of these younger guys to take more ownership and elevate their game down the stretch has been remarkable. But now they have to take a step in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And if they don't take a step in the playoffs, I'm going to be honest with you, then they have to take the step in the playoffs next year.
Yeah.
So they got to take the step in the playoffs this year, not next year.
Well, the bar's been raised. I mean, coming into next year, there's going to be expectations where they were certainly limited this year. What do you think it says, the fact that nobody saw this happening? And it's fair to say, like, even if you work internally with, like, no one expected the Blues to make the playoffs when you're, as far out as they were around the Four Nations.
Except for Monty,
maybe. And
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I know that when they had their meetings about the
trade
deadline, that they brought him in and he said, we're going to make the playoffs. And no one was thinking that was going to happen.
Nobody.
They had just lost Parenko.
Yeah.
And he was like, we're going to make the playoffs. So that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, I think I don't know why you would let that guy go. Like,
from Boston.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. He's a very good communicator. Like, people forget this guy had almost 100 points in college when he played with Korea. He was a tremendous offensive player. I think that if he was born 25 years later, he would be like Braden Point. Like, the game changed. The game kind of was a big man's game and for him. And it kind of, reason why I think he's such a good communicator, really good players, is because he was that person that was told to change. He was that person that was told he couldn't do what he likes to do or how he does it.
Yeah.
And I think his ability to communicate with those guys that you're seeing, he's getting the most out of. And I would put Kyrou in that category as well.
What do you think of Kyrou?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? Like what you just said? You put Kyrou.
What I mean by that is like he allows Kyrou to play his game and doesn't like rip down or strip down
his
the flaws that everybody has.
Yeah.
And so
and that's all everybody focused on. Never focusing on any of the positives.
Yeah.
It was all negative.
Like, I don't know why you want him to be Patrice Bergeron. Like, it's not. He's a burner. He's going to leave the zone early. He's going to score goals. He's going to turn the puck over. He's going to get it back. He's going to create chances.
And guess what? On a good team, when you play the right way, he's still going to be plus 23.
Exactly. When you look at the ledger, he's got created 10 chances and gave up the puck 4 times.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And plus 2 this year.
Yeah. And he's a plus.
He's plus 23.
Yes.
It's not plus 1. I mean, it's plus 23. Like, and he still had 36 goals. Like, the idea was, and it's funny because I've had coaches I've asked this question to. Like, some people suggested, well, if he's going to make his adjustment in his game, he's going to have to sacrifice some offense. Well, some coaches were like, no, he doesn't need to sacrifice his offense. He can still score 35. And he scored 36 goals this year, and he's a plus 23. His career high is 37 goals.
Right.
So he didn't have to sacrifice offense.
No, I think it helps that he played with guys who are responsible too, and that helps. But I think
Holloway and him had great chemistry.
Yeah, I think the credit goes to him.
Yeah, no, he had a fantastic year. One more Blues question, then I want to get your predictions from some of these other series. Snuggerud, what do you think of him so far?
Was not a fan in game 1.
You were not. I remember. Yeah.
Listen,
and it's game 1,
and I'm going to tell you why. Sure, he was nervous, whatever, but I didn't like his feet. I didn't realize.
You were concerned there.
Yeah, I didn't like his. And you know what I realized? He proved me wrong because I don't think he's a great skater. He's an awkward-looking skater.
A little bit, yeah.
But he gets there.
Mm-hmm.
What I've realized since then, in the 3 or 4 games, maybe 3 games, is that
he's played 7 games now.
Okay, but since then, the last 4 games, really smart with the puck. Understands when to give. He doesn't hold on to it too long. A lot of like gifted, skilled players come in from junior college.
That's when you turn it over.
You just hold on to it too much and turn it over.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't do that. He moves the puck. We haven't seen his shot yet necessarily. No. I think he's still it's gonna take some time because he's not a great skater to find those holes and spaces.
And for others to understand his tendencies and where he's at.
But it'll take time.
Yeah.
But he's not a liability defensively.
No.
Because you don't put him on the second line if you don't see. You couldn't do it. You'd have been like, hey, did you enjoy have a great summer? Did you enjoy your time with get to play in the NHL in the last few games? Great job. Now, time to move aside. Yeah. No, he's outplayed guys that they have sitting there that are ready to move in there.
Mm-hmm.
And
like Bolduc, some people would suggest how come Bolduc's not moving up, but like I think they just like Bolduc where he is. Bolduc's scoring a lot of power play goals. He's got great chemistry with Thomas on the power play, and maybe they'll play together 5-on-5 down the road.
Those two are interchangeable.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's like, oh, they'll look at the lines and they lose the game 1. And guess what? Bolduc's in the second line, and he goes to the third line.
He could be overwhelmed in a playoff series too, on the road in Winnipeg.
Could be in game.
Yeah.
So
we see Monty does that anyway, right? He's not afraid
important.
to make some changes.
That's very important to do. I think
Joel was the same way.
It becomes even more important in the playoffs. You do not have time to mess around with who's going. Second line's out playing the first line. Mm-hmm. Second line is going. That's the line you're going to lean on. And I'm only talking like 3 or 4 shifts total.
Yeah.
But
because that'll change, right?
Right.
They'll fall off.
You don't have time in the playoffs to like mess with that.
No.
Or wonder why, or put this guy with this guy.
Give players time to get going or whatever.
There's no time for that. It's going to be an absolute sprint.
So I'm glad you said that. You broke that down nicely. All right, let's go through some of these other playoff series real quick. Just give me who you think is going to
Sure.
win. Ottawa versus Toronto.
Toronto in 6.
Okay. Tampa Bay, Florida.
Florida in 6.
Washington, Montreal.
Montreal in 6.
Carolina, Jersey.
Carolina in 5.
Yeah, Montreal over Washington.
Yes.
You think that they're just going to fall off after the whole OV?
Yeah, I do. Carolina in 5.
Could be right. Carolina in 5, over Jersey. I don't trust Jersey. And they don't have Jack and whatever. They're just...
Yeah.
I never trust Jersey for whatever reason. Winnipeg, St. Louis.
St. Louis in 7.
You're taking St. Louis?
Yeah.
Okay. Dallas, Colorado.
Colorado in 6.
Vegas, Minnesota.
Vegas in 6.
You don't see Dallas, Colorado going to 7, huh?
No. I think they're banged up a little bit.
Yeah.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Now they've got Robertson. That's hurt.
That's a big injury.
They didn't play well down the stretch.
No.
Like, it's not a good time for them.
Peter DeBoer.
And the playoffs are 2 weeks. Like, everyone doesn't understand. The season ended and it's starting
2 days later.
Yeah, it's starting. Like, it's like
Dallas, Colorado. Saturday's game 1.
Right.
Vegas, Minnesota. You pick Vegas in 6, right?
Yeah.
You think Minnesota can win a couple games?
Yeah, I think they'll scrap it out.
L.A., Edmonton. Looking forward to this one.
I got L.A. in 7.
Yeah, this may be the year that they get through and get past. This 4th year in a row they've played.
I just don't like
they're
missing. Who's the D that Edmonton?
Well, Ekholm.
Ekholm, I mean, that's a massive
Nobody
loss.
replaces him.
And who's their goalie? Who's the goalie for Edmonton?
Skinner. Oh. Pickard? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
They may have to win 7-6 every.
Not good.
6-5. I'll tell you what is good. You know what's good. What's for dinner tonight, Jamal?
Well, Barlino's. They have 5 restaurants now. Barlino's South, Barlino's Osteria, Chris's Pancake and Dining, Chris's at the Docket, and Barlino's Twin Oaks. Might be my favorite right now. Forge many lasting relationships with their customers, their family model. Cook good food, serve plenty. 50+ years in business. Only 2 places to dine, at home or one of Barlino's family restaurants.
Dobbs Tires and Auto Center. I was at one of the locations today because it was right next to where we went this morning. Actually had to turn around, gave a nice wave. Everyone's working. Everyone's very friendly. Guy asked me if I wanted a coffee. I mean, just
really?
Very friendly at Dobbs.
They're unreal. I mean, it doesn't matter. There's 44 locations now. Dobbs is offering unbelievable deals on tires and anything you need. So what I love about them is they can take care of whatever your issue is. It's not just tires, but they do an unreal job. Have deals on Coopers, Continentals, BF Goodrich. Doesn't matter what you're looking for. Valuable deals, not only on quality tires, but expert auto service. You know what? Get your car in there. They'll deal with the car, light truck, van, SUV, hybrid, EV. They have a team of experienced technicians and ASE certified associates to service them all. Go to Dobbs.com for more.
Love it. All right, Jammer, great stuff, man. Looking forward to next week, too. Enjoy the playoffs.
First round is the best.
Thanks for coming in, as always. First round is always the best. I was talking to Foxit today. Like, it's just not even the same brand of hockey. It's a completely different.
And the referees, regardless of our referee friends, will disagree with us. It's my firm belief refereeing regresses 5 years in playoffs, every playoff.
Did you see them miss the shootout in Chicago?
How does that even happen?
I don't know.
It clearly went in.
It wasn't even like...
Where did they think it went?
Weren't they looking for the puck to see where it was?
But where did they think it went?
You think it went out of play? They're like literally 2 referees on each side of the goal.
It went in the net.
It's not during live play when there's guys skating everywhere and they maybe skate through your sight line. It's a shootout attempt. Where'd the puck go?
And then go behind the net and look.
Like,
before
go
the
look
guy gets
for
to
it.
shoot. Yes.
Like, did you think it went out of play? Where'd it go? I didn't see it go out of play. Is it in the net? You saw the netting,
The puck is like the brand, like shining, the Gary Bettman signature shining right on their face.
The guy, Nazer, who took the shot, he lifted his stick. People are like, how come he didn't say anything? How come he didn't say anything? He skated back to the bench. It went right in.
And high-fived everybody.
Exactly. I know. And then still Line A went next for the other team. I'd never seen anything like it.
It's crazy.
All right, Jamal Mayers on this edition of Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. Again, go to firstcommunity.com. Check out the nearest location to you. We'll do it again next Friday. It's our Friday tradition. Hockey Sense continues through the Stanley Cup playoffs. Thanks to everybody here at Half Coast Studios. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the hockey.